Chapter 506. It's good that someone loves you. Chu Yihan's cold gaze fell on Madame Sheng. It was as if he was giving her a sentence. You slandered me, he said coldly. You will be stripped of your imperial mandate. 50 strokes of the stick. Yes, Your Highness. I will immediately pass the message to the palace. Mo Chi immediately waved his hand, and a shadow guard headed towards the imperial palace. The old regional prince's heart trembled. He knelt in front of Chu Yihan. Your Highness, please spare me. My wife is stupid and has disturbed Your Highness. 1. I will punish her now. He knew very well that if he made Chu Yihan unhappy, it wouldn't be as simple as cancelling his imperial mandate. He immediately ordered a stool and a board to be carried over. He pointed at Madame Sheng and said, Men, beat this rude woman with 50 stick. Are you crazy, you old thing? Madame Sheng was furious. How dare you hit me? Hit her. The old regional prince was so angry that he was trembling. He hurriedly ordered his men to take action. Before Madame Sheng could react, she was already pressed against the stool. She had been pampered for many years and had never been hit before. She screamed. Although her voice was not pleasant to hear, Yingxue felt that it was fine for her to shout louder. She turned around and winked at Chu Yihan. Your Highness, can I go see my cousin now? Chu Yihan nodded. Seeing that Yingxue was about to walk into the residence, the old regional prince hurriedly led the way in front of her. Please, Your Highness. Miss Su, please. With Chu Yihan by his side, he, the old regional prince, was polite to Yingxue. Saint Wan also followed behind them. He and Mo Chi were behind them. He couldn't help but sigh. In this world, it's indeed good to have power and influence. No matter where Chu Yihan went, he was always so awesome. Mo Chi shook his head. Wrong, it's good to have someone to dote on. No matter how powerful Chu Yihan was, he couldn't resist a single word from Yingxue. Even if Yingxue wanted the stars in the sky, Chu Yihan would pluck them for her. He loved Yingxue so much. Yingxue and Chu Yihan were invited to the main hall by the old regional prince. The old regional prince brought out all the expensive and good things in his house to entertain Chu Yihan, but Chu Yihan did not even look at them. He only greeted him. Imperial brother is having a good time outside. I wonder how the situation in the residence is. This, before the old regional prince entered, he didn't know. After all, his eldest son, Chu Xiaotian, was more promising. He let Chu Xiaotian inherit the title of nobility early on. He got married and married a capable daughter-in-law. Then, he gave up and lived a carefree life. His eldest daughter-in-law was in charge of everything in the family. This daughter-in-law was Su Yingxue's cousin, Su Han. When the steward reported that Su Han was sick, the old regional prince guessed that Su Yingxue's visit today was not simple. My eldest daughter-in-law is dignified and elegant. She is very good at managing the house, so one have never worried about my family. Did Your Highness bring Miss Su to visit my eldest daughter-in-law today? That's right. Yingxue had a medicine box beside her. Old regional prince, can you let me see my cousin and treat her illness? Miss Su is a female doctor and the cousin of the eldest daughter-in-law. This is naturally possible. The old regional prince had no reason to stop her, so he called the steward and prepared to let him bring Yingxue over. Saint Wan also got up and followed Yingxue over. He was still muttering beside Yingxue. If one had known this would happen, one would have called this old regional prince back earlier. Look at how reasonable he is. Even if Chu Yihan doesn't come, he won't stop us from seeing your cousin, right? Chapter 507. The arrogant Minute-Jiao County Lord Yingxue curled her lips. The old regional prince is reasonable, but there are many people in this manor who don't understand. Look at his Madame Sheng. Is she reasonable? Saint Wan looked disgusted. That's a fool. What could she be thinking to go against Chu Yihan? Yingxue guessed that there must be some unreasonable people in this residence. As soon as she and Saint Wan arrived at the gate of Su Han's courtyard, a woman in bright and luxurious clothes sat there with a cold face. She was sitting on an expensive carved armchair. There were 2 maidservants beside her who were holding tea and snacks. There was a long line behind her, some were shielding her from the sun, and some were fanning her. There was even a fat cat lying at her feet, and it looked at Su Yingxue. TSK, fierce. Which idiot is this? Saint Juan was annoyed. This was what he hated the most about the Duke's manner. He didn't know how many twists and turns he had to go through to see a patient, and it affected his performance. Su Yingxue looked at this graceful and gorgeous girl. Her round face was extremely tender, and her skin was so smooth that it seemed like water could be squeezed out. She guessed that she was probably the one who made things difficult for Suhan the most, the Minute County Lord. She reached out to block the sunlight and smiled. One heard Madame Sheng say that the County Lord was painting at the door. I didn't expect to meet you here. One didn't know that the County Lord was so good at multitasking. There was a hint of sarcasm in her smile. No one was stupid. The painting of Minute County Lord was nonsense. She was making things difficult for Su Han and standing in front of her courtyard. The Minute County Lord had been used to being arrogant since she was young because of her family background and her parents' love for her. Facing Su Yingxue's mockery, she replied arrogantly. Su Yingxue, stop beating around the bush. You want to visit your cousin, right? I won't let you. Now, get lost. Wow. How arrogant. Saint Juan rolled up his sleeves. Normally, he would beat up such arrogant people, regardless of their gender. Wait a moment. Su Yingxue pressed down on Saint Juan's fist and advised her kindly. One got the old regional prince's permission to visit and treat someone. Furthermore, the person inside is my cousin. There's nothing wrong with it. County Lord, you should move aside now. Why? Minute County Lord lifted her teacup and stood up. She immediately cursed. Su Yingxue, who do you think you are? This is my regional prince's mansion. You can see whoever you want and treat whoever you want. Dream on. If 1 minute am here today, you can forget about seeing Su Han. She was so angry and so hostile that Su Yingxue frowned and fell into deep thought. She remembered that the Minute County Lord had a bad temper, but they did not interact much. If there was no reason, she would not be so hostile towards her. What are you waiting for? Slap her twice and go in to see your cousin. Saint Juan couldn't hold back the poison in his sleeve anymore. He wanted to slap this county lord in the face. Let her know what society is like. Saint Juan thought. County lead, if you don't move, you will end up like Madame Sheng. Su Yingxue said in a deep voice. My mother. What did you do to my mother? Minute County Lord finally reacted. Her mother had gone to stop Su Yingxue, but Su Yingxue had entered the residence. What about her mother? County Lord, Madam is being beaten up. The steward sighed heavily. What is it? My mother is being beaten. Who dared to hit her? The Minute County Lord was so angry that she smashed everything in her hand. Her face was ashen. Chapter 508. Beat her up like a pig. The steward had no choice but to speak the truth. Madam neglected Ninth Prince, and he hesitated to say more about Ninth Prince and Miss Su but ended up revealing, Master punished her with dozens of lashi. Now, it's execution. What? Mother. The Minute County Lord was about to rush to see Madame Sheng. However, after just taking 2 steps, she noticed that Su Yingxue was still standing there, and a surge of anger filled her heart. She pointed at Su Yingxue, gritting her teeth angrily. You, little wretch. You intruded into my residence and caused my mother to be beaten. Today, the county lord was determined to teach her a lesson. Taking advantage of the crowd around her, she waved her hand, instructing them to charge at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue placed the medicine box behind her and poked Saint Juan. Roll up your other sleeve too. Preparing for a fight. Saint Juan, looking at the approaching servants with excitement in his eyes, rolled up his other sleeve. Crack. Whoosh. Bang bang. Pa. After a series of loud noises, all the servants in the regional prince's mansion lay defeated at Su Yingxue and Saint Juan's feet. Su Yingxue hadn't made a move yet. After Saint Juan had finished, she approached the Minute County Lord. County Lord, are your servants so easily defeated? The Minute County Lords could not control her anger any longer. Su Yingxue, how dare you? I'll beat you to death. Thinking that Su Yingxue was just another sheltered young lady like her, she clenched her fist and swung it at her. Su Yingxue had been waiting for this punch. Hit her. Of course not. Su Yingxue grabbed her arm, twisted it, and then delivered 2 punches to her eye sockets, creating a symmetrical pandai effect. Afterward, she held the county lord's hand and made her slap her face. Using the minute jaw county lord's hand, Su Yingxue slapped the county lord's face until it swelled. Then, she let her go, dusted off her hands, and looked at the stunned steward. You witnessed it. Your county lord initiated the attack. We acted in self-defense. The steward was left speechless. Could he claim to be blind? This situation was infuriating. Saint Juan, helping Su Yingxue carry the medicine box into the courtyard, walked with a joyful gait. Su Yingxue, you're truly cunning. After hitting them, you even want the steward to testify that they attacked first. Su Yingxue innocently tried to reason with him. That is indeed the truth. Did either of us initiate the attack? She was the first to strike when I hit the minute jaw county lord. I can't just stand there like a fool and let her hit me, right? Of course not. That's why you mentioned Madame Sheng. You wanted her to know that her mother was beaten, to provoke her and make her hit you. This way, you'd have a reason to openly strike her. Saint Juan hummed a tune. He had seen through Su Yingxue's cunning nature. This girl, it was fine if you didn't provoke her, but once you did, she would be cunning and ruthless. After the scheming, she would openly beat you up, leaving you with no reason to retaliate. Therefore, he would rather offend all the women in the world than offend Su Yingxue. This girl was too crafty. Su Yingxue didn't argue against Saint Juan's statements. Instead, she was more concerned about Su Han. As they walked into the courtyard, Su Han, despite being bedridden, had not a single servant attending to her. Su Yingxue's heart sank a little. She didn't know which room was Su Han's bedroom, but after checking other rooms, she noticed one with a door locked from the outside. She knocked on the door, inquiring, "Sister, are you in there?" Chapter 509, Su Han's Weird Big Belly Yingxue. Sister. A woman's feeble voice emanated from behind the door. Su Han had already given in to despair, but she didn't anticipate hearing Su Yingxue's voice. Sister, wait a moment. Su Yingxue inserted a silver needle into the keyhole, breaking the lock, and swiftly entered. Saint Juan held the broken lock, still in a daze. Su Yingxue, how did you do that? She was a doctor. How could she use silver needles to pick a lock? Su Yingxue had no time to pay attention to him. She rushed into Su Han's room, which reeked of a foul odor. It seemed like it hadn't been cleaned for days, and the decaying food emitted a putrid smell in the air. Su Yingxue assisted Su Han and moved her to a cleaner room, with Saint Juan carrying her medicine box. Saint Juan's gaze was fixed on Su Han's stomach. Tears welled up in Su Han's eyes, and she subconsciously covered her abnormally large belly with the blanket. Sister, Aunt asked me to come and see you. It wasn't easy for me to get in. Let me take a look at your stomach and feel your pulse. Su Yingxue explained her intentions. Su Han had been confined for several days, so she could deduce that it wasn't easy for Su Yingxue to save her. She had risked her life to send a note out, and her mother had pleaded with Su Yingxue. Even Su Yingxue had arrived just in time. Su Han couldn't care less about modesty and shame. She pulled the blanket away, revealing her swollen belly. Su Yingxue gently caressed her stomach. Indeed, it seemed like a pregnancy. When she touched it, she could even feel the fetal movement. However, this was not a normal fetal movement. Qin Wn mentioned that when Su Han was initially diagnosed with pregnancy, she was only 2 months pregnant, yet her belly had grown significantly in just a few days. That was the reason for such an anomaly. Su Yingxue re-examined Su Han's pulse. It fluctuated significantly, but it wasn't a healthy pulse. Whatever was in her stomach. Sister, can you take off your clothes and let me take a look? Su Yingxue inquired with a serious demeanor. Su Han bit her lip shyly. One can do it if you're alone, but her concerned gaze fell on Saint Juan. He was still a young and handsome man. Although he served as Su Yingxue's assistant, Su Han had to adhere to the rules of a married woman. She couldn't allow other men to see her body. Sister, he is Saint Juan, the poison doctor. In the eyes of a doctor, there is no distinction between male and female. If there are symptoms of poisoning, Saint Juan might be able to observe them more clearly than me. This was also the reason why Su Yingxue brought Saint Juan along. Of course, she understood that Su Han's upbringing and status made it challenging for her to accept a male doctor, especially someone like Saint Juan, who appeared to be a playboy. Saint Juan's face was filled with disdain. I've been a doctor for so many years, and I detest shy women the most. If you don't want to see me, then forget it. Having said that, he tossed away the medicine box and turned to leave. Wait. Su Han gritted her teeth, her pretty face turning red. She slowly unbuttoned her clothes, revealing her belly. No matter how sister treats me, I only want you to cure me. One don't want to die. This. I don't want it either. Her eyes were brimming with tears, and her determined appearance tugged at one's heart. Su Yingxue held her hand and reassured her. Sister, don't be afraid. There's no such thing as a ghost fetus in this world. If the ailment could be diagnosed, it could undoubtedly be cured. Su Yingxue pulled the reluctant Saint Juan to Su Han's bedside. Come here and take a good look. What's wrong with my sister's stomach? Chapter 510I. Should just cripple him. Saint Juan didn't bother about it and began diagnosing alongside Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue frowned. There's a living entity in sister's stomach, but it's not a child. Itra's similar to pregnancy symptoms, leading to a misdiagnosis. 11-inch. This entity must have initially been small and gradually grew to this point inside your sister's stomach. Saint Juan, who rarely took pulses, observed. He stroked his chin and pondered for a moment. Did you have any issues with your diet before, or any unusual signs before your stomach enlarged? Su Han had pondered over his questions during her days of confinement. Before the pregnancy diagnosis, my diet was normal. Minute Jor often brought me some food, but one rarely consumed it. After 3 days of continuous deliveries, one instructed my men to put it away, and one never touched it again. Sister is right to be cautious. Su Yingxue's eyes darkened. Su Han was well aware of the machinations and tactics of the women in the residence, so she had been extremely careful. Yet, even with such caution, this still happened. From Su Yingxue's perspective, this was not ordinary. Where else have you been before? Did anything different happen? Saint Juan, now serious, shed his nonchalant aura. Su Han had something on her mind. I did, but one can't let others know about it. Otherwise, my mother-in-law will scold me for being insensible again. Su Yingxue sat beside her, holding her hand. Su Han's voice carried a touch of sadness. A few days ago, Minute Jor invited me out. Knowing her penchant for making things difficult, I usually found ways to avoid her. However, at that time one couldn't escape and went to her courtyard. Yet, she wasn't there. Instead, one accidentally fell into the lotus pond in her courtyard. The pond was deep, and I almost drowned. Fortunately, my maid, Yuana, was quick-witted and called for help in time. Later, when one confronted Minute Jor in anger, I distinctly felt someone pushing me from behind. But she not only evaded responsibility, my mother-in-law also even hit me. As Su Han spoke, tears streamed down her face. Su Yingxue stomped her foot in anger. It seems the dozens of lashes she received were too lenient. One, she should have directly pressured Chu Yihan to cripple Madame Sheng. Let's see if she still has the strength to bully Su Han. Su Yingxue thought. At that time, one was already diagnosed with pregnancy, and fearing for the child, my mother advised me to settle the matter peacefully and give birth first. One didn't take it to heart, but unexpectedly, my stomach grew bigger, and they locked me in the room, wanting me to die on my own. Hatred glinted in Su Flan's eyes. Despite her efforts to please her mother-in-law and sister-in-law and endure their disdain due to her low status, she couldn't lead a stable life in this mansion. While Su Yingxue focused on Su Yilon's predicament and contemplated how to treat her stomach, Saint Juan raised his eyebrows. You mentioned falling into the lotus pond in the county head's courtyard? 11. Su Han nodded. Yes, one was pushed into the water that day. Saint Juan seemed to have an idea. He pointed at Su Han's belly. Think about how to treat her belly. I'll go to the lotus pond. Good. Su Yingxue nodded. Although she wasn't sure of Saint Roan's intentions, he always had his ways. Su Yingxue administered an injection to Su Han and provided her with hot water and snacks to replenish her strength. Chapter 511. To save his life or his reputation? When Saint Roan returned, he was covered in mud, looking dirty. However, he held a lotus leaf in his hands like a treasure. He approached Su Yingxue, blinking his eyes. Look, what's this? Bugs. Su Han screamed in fear and hid behind Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue looked at Saint Roan's expression and knew that he wasn't trying to scare Su Han. She thought of Su Han's belly and raised her eyebrows in surprise. Is this? That's right. Look at this pile. I fished them out from the pond. The eggs of the bug are small and hard to detect. If your sister drank the dirty water from the pond when she fell and swallowed all these, it wouldn't be strange for the bug to grow in her stomach and cause it to bloat. After Saint Roan finished gesturing, he casually tossed the bug aside. After washing his hands, he reminded the frightened Su Han, by the way, when I went to the pool to fish, one found that the pool had been intentionally cleaned. However, these bugs that live in the wild have a strong reproductive ability, and it can't be cleaned up quickly. He mentioned it casually, but Su Han bit her lip, and blood trickled down the corner of her mouth, the taste both salty and bitter. Sister, I'll go and discuss with Saint Roan how to treat this. Su Yingxue helped Su Han lie down and followed Saint Roan outside the screen. Su Yingxue didn't regret bringing Saint Roan over today. You're experienced and knowledgeable. You must have seen the same patient. Did you cure her back then? If it was cured, I wouldn't have remembered it. Killing the bug with medicine damages the human body. However, if one didn't use medicine, they would eat the human body in a mess, leading only to death. Back then, when one used medicine to kill bugs, that person's body couldn't take it. Later on, he refused to drink medicine, so I could only let him fend for himself. But one can't let my sister die on her own. She can't die. Since Su Yingxue had promised Qin Wn to save Su Han's life, she couldn't go back on her word. If it was in the past, one would have pulled you out of this mess. But now that you've learned how to perform surgery, your sister can be saved. Dissecting the bug? Why not? Saint Roan raised his eyebrows playfully. Su Yingxue turned around and explained her and Saint Roan's thoughts to Su Han. Su Han listened as if hearing a fantasy. What? A C-section? To cut open my stomach and then take out the bug in my stomach? Su Yingxue nodded. You're right. No, I can't. One dare not. This. No. Su Han was so scared that her body trembled. Her stomach had been hurting, and she held it with tears streaming down her face. I've never heard of anyone surviving after having their stomach cut open. If people find out that my stomach is full of bugs, how can I survive after taking them out? Su Han was extremely depressed. She was already a married woman, and she had to bear not only her honor but also her family's reputation. You can preserve your reputation if you die, Saint Roan sneered. He was a man of the martial world, and he despised women like Su Han. She accepted her fate from birth. Once her reputation was lost, there was only a dead end. Saint Roan glanced at Su Yingxue, who was dressed in red. Yes, this young girl could live longer. Su Yingxue frowned. If there was another way, she would not want this to happen. Chapter 512. The moment Su Yingxue attacked, she hit a pig head. Sister, Saint Roan was unable to cure the patient before. He might not be able to develop a suitable medicine to ensure that your body can withstand it. If you don't agree to my surgery for the sake of your reputation, one have nothing to say. I'll just take it that I've let down aunt and uncle's trust. Su Yingxue understood Su Elon's dilemma, so she refrained from trying to persuade her. However, she addressed Su Han's medical concerns. You may not believe in the effectiveness of the surgery, but my father underwent the same procedure with my hands and is still living well. I have also performed abdominal surgery for the eldest princess of Qi state. Su Han gripped the blanket tightly. Though I am afraid, I do not doubt sister's medical skills. It's just that this abdominal parasite extraction, she covered her face and cried, unable to accept the cruel reality. Su Yingxue didn't force Su Han. Instead, she administered some mild medicine to nourish her body. As Su Han had just fallen asleep, Minute Jo County Lord arrived with her entourage. Behind her was Madame Sheng, barely standing with assistants. Minute Jo's face was red and swollen, resembling a pig's head, as she shouted, Su Yingxue, if you dare lay a hand on me, you won't leave the regional prince's mansion safely today. With a wave, dozens of mansion servants rushed towards Su Yingxue. Saint Wan swiftly raised his sleeves. Watch me incapacitate them with poison. Before the group of people could even touch Su Yingxue, they were mesmerized by Saint Wan's poison powder. They fell to the ground one after another, foaming at the mouth. You! Witchcraft! Minute Jo hid behind Madame Sheng, frightened. Call for help. Quickly, inform everyone that Su Han and her family are all witches. Madame Sheng, be cautious in your words, lest you injure your tongue. Su Yingxue's gaze turned stern. A tiny needle flew from her hand, rendering Madame Sheng speechless. All. Madame Sheng's eyes darted nervously, recalling Su Yingxue's comment about injuring her tongue. She trembled in fear. Mother, what's happening to you? Su Yingxue, you witch, what have you done to my mother? Minute Jo stomped her feet in panic, avoiding Su Yingxue as if afraid of suffering the same fate as her mother. What's going on? The old regional prince, though elderly, rushed over. Seeing Madame Sheng and Minute Jo surrounded, he sighed, Madam, what has happened? Master, it's a witch. I can't articulate. Madame Sheng struggled to speak, her tongue couldn't move, and in pain. Minute Jo pointed at Su Yingxue, complaining to her father. Dad, Su Yingxue is a witch, just like Su Han, carrying a ghost fetus. Everyone with the surname Su is a witch. Dad, kill them. Shut up. The old regional prince was almost taken aback. Su Yingxue was brought in by Chu Yihan, and he had shown respect. Yet, his daughter, oblivious to the consequences, publicly labeled Su Yingxue a witch. Father, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and kill them. Minute Jo wished she could turn Su Yingxue into a pig's head as well. However, the old regional prince not only refrained from taking action but also scolded her. It was only when a cold, stern voice reminded him, Su Yingxue is a witch. What about you? I am the county lord. Chapter 513, Try the torturers in my mansion. A moment ago, Minute Jo had stopped moving and stood confidently. However, the next moment, upon seeing Chu Yihan's expression, she instantly collapsed to the ground. Her face turned ashen as she cried out, Ninth Imperial Uncle. If the arrogant and domineering disciples of the imperial family had any fear for their elders, it wasn't their parents or the emperor. It was Chu Yihan. When Chu Yihan was at the peak of his influence, they were still playing by the palace walls. Now, upon hearing Chu Yihan's inquiry, Minute Jo immediately lowered her head and explained politely, Imperial Uncle, please forgive me. Minute Jo didn't mean to offend. It's just that Su Yingxue deliberately struck Minute Jo, leaving Minute Jo's mother could not speak. Minute Jo is afraid she might be a witch, so I did this. Is that so? Chu Yihan's gaze shifted to Su Yingxue. His eyes were dark and profound, making it impossible to discern his expression. Saint Wan suddenly felt a sense of danger. Is Chu Yihan planning to teach you a lesson for his niece? He leaned on Su Yingxue's shoulder and said sneakily. Su Yingxue promptly stepped on his foot. Your Highness, I did hit the county lord, but it was the county lord who provoked me. I can't just stand there and let her hit me, right? Su Yingxue responded confidently. Chu Yihan walked to her side with a stern face. Which hand hit her? Su Yingxue glanced behind him. I was afraid of getting dirty, so I used the county lord's own hands to hit her. Minute Jo gritted her teeth. Su Yingxue's words were infuriating. Chu Yihan patted Su Yingxue's head and said gently, You're smart enough. Otherwise, if your hand hurts, I'll feel sorry for you. Minute Jo was shocked by his words. The old regional prince gulped and fell silent. Madame Sheng's eyes widened. Perhaps it was because the needle had been swallowed, but she could only open her mouth to curse. How can your highness be so biased? Su Yingxue hurt my minute jaw, but your highness doesn't stand up for her. Instead, you care for this slut. Slut. Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. He observed that although Madame Sheng was being supported by the servants, she could still stand. Thinking of the beating at the door, he looked at the old regional prince. It seems that the executioners in Imperial Brother's residence are too lax. One will send 2 people to Imperial Brother. No, no, no. This is unnecessary. Your Highness, you, the old regional prince thought he couldn't accept such good intentions, but he didn't expect Mochi to bring people over so quickly. Chu Yihan waved his hand. Let your wife have a try. How about my men carry out the punishment? The men brought by Mochi dragged Madame Sheng over without any explanation. They were from the prince's mansion and had a military background, making them quite adept at beating people. Madame Sheng raised her head and screamed in agony. Ah, it hurts. Master, save me. Master, save me. Madame Sheng was pressed down hard. She would scream in pain every time she was hit. Saint Juan clicked his tongue. As expected of Chu Yihan. How ruthless. She could even give up her life by scolding Su Yingxue's slut. Su Yingxue looked expressionless, but a flower had quietly bloomed in her heart. As expected, when your highness protected her, he was even more ruthless than the king of the underworld. After only 10 hits, Madame Sheng had already passed out, foaming at the mouth. The old regional prince trembled as he begged Chu Yihan. My wife insulted Miss Su and was rude. But please spare her for my sake, your highness. If this continued, Madame Sheng would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Chu Yihan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned around and rubbed Su Yingxue's head. Are you still angry? Chapter 514. The reason why Su Han got sick. Su Yingxue shook her head. She wasn't angry at Madame Sheng. Her gaze shifted to Minute Jaw County Lord. Minute Jaw County Lord trembled all over, her watery eyes filled with fear. Su Yingxue, what are you? What are you doing? Don't look at me. Don't come over. She didn't want to get beaten. She didn't want to end up like her mother, beaten half to death by Chu Yihan. Quickly, she crawled in front of Chu Yihan, grabbing his robe to plead for mercy. Imperial uncle, I was wrong. Don't hit me. I won't dare to do it again. Chu Yihan coldly pulled out his robe and commanded her, apologized to her. His concerned gaze remained on Su Yingxue, staring at her as if she were a rare treasure. Minute Jaw County Lord hated her guts. Why should she apologize to Su Yingxue? If it weren't for Chu Yihan, she would have pressed Su Yingxue's head against the ground and rubbed it. But now, I'm sorry, Miss Su. I didn't mean to offend you. Minute Jaw gritted her teeth. Her cheeks were red and swollen. Oh. Su Yingxue replied indifferently. The matter was put behind her, and she focused on Su Han's condition. Su Han's husband, Chu Xiaotian, hadn't returned yet. So Su Yingxue waited in the front hall and informed the old regional prince about Su Han's illness. The old regional prince's heart was pounding when he heard that. How did this bug get into my daughter-in-law's body? It's unbelievable. You'll have to ask Minute Jaw County Lord about that. Sister fell into the lotus pond in her courtyard, and Saint Juan found that the lotus pond in her courtyard had just been cleaned recently. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows and looked at Minute Jaw. I'm afraid sister was the first to fall into the lotus pond of the Minute Jaw County Lord, right? Why didn't you clean it up earlier or later? Why did you have to clean it up after sister fell into the water? This county lord's lotus pond is taken care of by someone and will be cleaned up every once in a while. Why would I care about such a small matter? Minute Jaw pretended to be calm, but her eyes kept rolling, revealing a trace of panic. Chu Yihan's hand was always on Su Yingxue's hand. As long as she moved her hand, he would be able to help her. However, Su Yingxue didn't want to make a move at this time. She didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble for Chu Yihan. The old regional prince was troubled. The family affairs have always been handled by the eldest daughter-in-law. Everything in her hands is in order, and the entire family is in her hands. Now that she has this illness, he didn't know what to do. His wife was ill, and his son had not returned. If he decided for his eldest daughter-in-law, old regional prince, the worms in my sister's stomach have already started to eat away at her body and absorb her nutrients. My sister's body is weak. If we delay any longer, her life will be in danger. Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with anxiety. The old regional prince clenched his fists. Just as he was tensed up, a voice came from outside the door. The prince is back. The old regional prince's eyes lit up. Xiaotian is back. His most promising eldest son was working in the 5 cities military department. He had power in his hands and had some achievements, which made him happy. Xiaotian was dressed in a long green robe and was dressed in night dew. He looked noble and imposing. It seemed that he had been busy for days. There was a trace of fatigue in his eyes. Under the candlelight, his eyes looked even colder. He first called out to his father before walking over to Chu Yihan. He bowed and cupped his hands. "Greetings, Imperial Uncle. I came back late due to official business. Please forgive me." "No worries." Chu Yihan's tone was indifferent. Before Chu Xiaotian entered the house, he had already figured out most of the situation. He rarely asked about the family affairs because Su Han was considerate and had always taken care of the house. But now that she was sick, he had to think about it. Chapter 5:15. Send proposition. Su Yingxue explained the plan she had just discussed in detail to Chu Xiaotian. Although Chu Xiaotian seemed incredulous, he didn't react as foolishly as Minute Jiao, uttering nonsense about ghost fetuses and demonic arts. Instead, he furrowed his brow and asked, "Miss Su, can you determine that your sister's illness is a result of swallowing lake insect eggs during the drowning incident?" Su Yingxue nodded and pointed to the insects and eggs on the lotus leaf beside Saint Juan. "If your highness doubts, you can go and see for yourself. Of course, if you want to test it, you can have County Lord Minute Jiao eat these eggs to see if her condition becomes similar to your sister's. It's a feasible option. Don't even think about it. This one won't eat it." Minute Jiao's reaction was overly dramatic, not at all like someone just realizing the danger of these eggs. It seemed she had prior knowledge, staying far away from these dirty things. Saint Juan looked at her with a smirk and said to Su Yingxue, "I bet this was her doing." Su Yingxue just twitched her lips. These scores would be settled later. For now, she needed Chu Xiaotian to make a decision. After all, Su Han was his wife. Chu Xiaotian pondered for a moment. Today is already late. Even if it's surgery, it might not be convenient. How about one inform Miss Su tomorrow when I've made a decision? There's nothing inconvenient about that. I can. Saint Juan jumped up, wanting to propose a plan, but Su Yingxue gave him a look, signaling him to shut up. Saint Juan snorted and had to stop. Approaching Chu Xiaotian, Su Yingxue frowned deeply. "According to etiquette, I should address your highness as a brother-in-law. I am an outsider and shouldn't interfere in your family affairs. All my actions today were to save my sister's life. One hope your highness won't blame me. However, I have something to tell your highness. Sister is the descendant of my Marquis Manor, the grandson of the Defender General, and the daughter of the Weiwu General. If any harm befalls her again in the regional prince's mansion, be it the Marquis Manor or the General Manor, one must seek justice for sister." Chu Xiaoshan's eyes narrowed in shock. Before him was a 16 or 17-year-old girl. Her face was as beautiful as a flower, but her cold gaze and steady demeanor were beyond what even he, the regional prince, could match. Truly admirable. Chu Xiaotian grunted and personally saw Chu Yihan off with them. In Chu Yihan's carriage, Su Yingxue placed her hands on her knees and cupped her small face with a heavy expression. Chu Yihan helped her put away the medicine box and pinched her cheeks. His voice was gentle as he asked, "What are you thinking about?" "Oh, I was thinking about my cousin, and I was also thinking, myself." Su Yingxue had no choice but to turn her head and look up at Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan simply cupped her face in his palm and let her lie on his lap. He caressed her long hair and said, "Your sister's situation is different from yours, but what did you think of?" Su Yingxue's fingers drew small circles on Chu Yihan's knees. Sister is also grandfather's granddaughter. She is dignified, elegant, and talented. However, she married into the regional prince's mansion, but her life is not good at all. Her mother-in-law bullies her, and her sister-in-law bullies her. Her husband might not even love her, but she still has to work hard to manage the regional prince's mansion. These days were bitter just thinking about it. She couldn't imagine how Su Han, who looked so weak, could bear all of this. You're different from her, so you naturally don't have to suffer from her. Chapter 516 I got the question wrong. Chu Yihan's broad palm gently caressed her soft long hair, and his heart warmed. But if one marry your highness in the future, one will also marry into the prince's mansion and take charge of the family affairs. One will also encounter the experiences of my mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and the hardships my cousin is going through. Su Yingxue had a headache. She couldn't learn from Su Yilon's forbearance with her fists and bad temper. Chu Yihan chuckled. She has a mother-in-law and sister-in-law that you don't have. What you have it all for me. Although he said that, Su Yingxue's heart softened when she heard that. She couldn't help but ask, then, if one also had a mother-in-law and a sister-in-law, would your highness still protect me like now? She raised her head, her eyes shining like scattered stars, captivating. Outside the carriage door, both Mochi and Saint Wan shivered involuntarily. Mochi remarked, "This is a tricky question. How should he answer it? In case his master didn't answer correctly, tonight might be a sleepless one." Saint Wan shook his head. "One have no idea. When one got married, there weren't these messy problems." Thinking about it, Saint Wan felt fortunate that he had been a bachelor for decades, avoiding the squeezing pressure between mother and wife. But suddenly, he perked up his ears. He was very curious about how Chu Yihan would answer such a question. Su Yingxue looked at Chu Yihan obediently, her clear and bright eyes filled with anticipation. Chu Yihan responded without hesitation, "There's no need to worry about things that don't exist. If you marry me, these problems won't arise." Su Yingxue was left speechless. Although what he said was true, why did she feel a bit disappointed? Greedy women always desired to obtain all of his affection. Even the issues with a mother-in-law and a sister-in-law couldn't take away that kind of favor. However, despite her greed, Chu Yihan was already treating her very well. She couldn't complain. First, she went to her uncle's house and informed them about Su Han's illness. In the main hall, Qin Wen covered her face, sobbing silently. Haina has contracted such a strange illness. Even if it can be cured by cutting open her abdomen, I'm afraid that in the future, Qin Wen found it hard to articulate. She understood too well the hardships faced by women. No woman with scars on her body would escape being disliked by her husband and family. With this illness, no matter how well Su Han managed the regional prince's mansion, everything she had done well would be wiped away. As a father, all of Su Dingheng's anxiety and heartache could only be expressed with a heavy sigh. Su Yingxue could empathize well. "Uncle, aunt, one shouldn't overly concern myself with sister's family matters. However, since I'm a doctor, one will do my best to treat sister. I'll wait for news from the brother-in-law at the Marquis manor. If he agrees, I will immediately prepare for sister's surgery. This is the only way for now." Su Dingheng's gaze was solemn. Qin Wen worried that Su Han would have a difficult time in the future, but she was sensible and knew that saving Su Han's life was more critical. She held Su Yingxue's hand and escorted her out of the Marquis manor, expressing profuse gratitude as she left. "Yingxue, although we moved out of the Marquis manor and went our separate ways long ago, we are still a family connected by blood. If you ever need anything in the future, uncle and aunt will do our best for you." "Thank you, auntie." Su Yingxue bowed. Even though she might not need this favor, the feeling of having relatives was genuinely comforting. In her previous life, her father believed Liu Shulan's slanderous words. After obtaining the title of nobility, he started arguing about splitting up the family. Chapter 517. Let Su Han apologize. The few uncles and aunts had all moved out of the Marquis manor in a fit of pique and established their own families. Grandpa frequently went on expeditions and had no time to attend to family matters. As a result, the Su family was now under the control of Su Dingheng and Su Yuro. Now that she was the head of the Marquis manor, she had expelled deceitful individuals and was determined to rebuild the family. In the regional prince's mansion, Chu Xiaotian hastily returned home. His military and administrative duties were not yet complete, so he first went to study. After dealing with official matters, he proceeded to his father's room for a conversation. In the room, the old regional prince sighed, and Madame Sheng, in pain from applying medicine, had awakened several times, crying and lamenting. Upon seeing her son, she clung to his clothes, crying breathlessly. If you had come back any later, you wouldn't have seen your mother. In being bullied by that woman in your room, Chu Xiaotian helped her up, his handsome face exhibiting a hint of coldness. Mother offended 9th Imperial uncle today. It has nothing to do with Haina. How can it not to do with her? Madame Sheng widened her eyes. If it weren't for that woman in your room being dramatic and making her mother call Su Yingxue, why would Su Yingxue bring 9th Prince here? How would I end up like this? Madame Sheng twisted the cause and effect into a convoluted explanation, attempting to shift the blame onto Su Han. Chu Xiaotian wasn't easily deceived. If mother had allowed Haina to seek medical attention early, you wouldn't be in this state. Su Yingxue's medical skills are exceptional, and her status is now extraordinary. Despite knowing that 9th Imperial uncle protects her, mother publicly insulted her. Do you now understand how formidable 9th Imperial uncle is? Chu Xiaoshan's words left Madame Sheng speechless. Both he and his father knew that 9th Imperial uncle was highly esteemed and untouchable, even by the emperor. He protected Su Yingxue, yet his mother persistently labeled her as a woman of low character. How could this situation be acceptable? Not killing his mother was already a concession to the regional prince's mansion's reputation. The old regional prince sipped his tea and rebuked Madame Sheng. You accused me before, saying you wanted your son to come back and take charge. Listen to what he said. Do you still think I was wrong? 9th Imperial brother was the former emperor's favorite, and even Imperial brother wouldn't dare speak to him like this. You insulted his beloved, aren't you asking for trouble? You useless pair. You let me suffer in vain, and each one of you fears that Chu Yihan. I don't want to live anymore. Ah. Madame Sheng pounded her chest and stomped her feet, crying incessantly. She even pulled out a white silk to hang herself. Chu Xiaotian, troubled by her antics, suggested bringing Su Han to apologize. Only then did Madame Sheng abandon her suicidal thoughts. Su Han couldn't fall asleep. When Chu Xiaotian woke her up and saw his handsome face, her grievance turned into tears. She wanted to jump into his arms and cry. However, Chu Xiaotian merely said, Mother was beaten today and is upset. Go apologize to her and let her rest early. Mother, Su Han's tears were held back in her eyes, and her heart felt bitter. Sitting on the bed with her head lowered, she refused to move. Chu Xiaotian sat in front of her, asking, What's wrong? It's already late and Mother is already injured. If she doesn't rest, it will be difficult for her to recover. Go quickly and coax Mother to sleep. Su Han tightly gripped the blanket, her knuckles turning white. The grievance in her heart was like a volcano about to erupt. Tears streamed down her cheeks, and she spoke in a low, hoarse voice. Is your mother the only one in your heart? Are you not going to inquire about my well-being? Chapter 518. Before the surgery, I was still being bullied. Chu Xiaotian was slightly taken aback, and then his tone became more serious. Mother is the elder, so naturally, her feelings should be considered first. Your sister has already come to see you today, you've taken the medicine, and now you can talk to me nicely. What's so difficult about apologizing to Mother? Su Han could sense that Chu Xiaotian strongly wanted her to go. However, her heart felt as if it had been torn open. She looked at Chu Xiaotian with tears in her eyes. If one apologized to your mother, will she and your sister apologize to me? She questioned Chu Xiaotian, But a hint of displeasure appeared on Chu Yihan's face. Why should they apologize to you? You're the eldest sister-in-law, so you don't have to be calculating with her. Mother is an elder, so how can you expect her to apologize to you? If you don't want to go today, you should rest early. Chu Xiaotian rarely treated Su Han like this after their marriage. Even though he had many concubines in the mansion, he never mistreated Su Han due to favoritism. It was because he knew that Su Han was a dignified woman. But tonight, she was not dignified and inappropriate, which made him very disgusted. Su Han collapsed onto the bed weakly. She could only cry the whole night. She loved Chu Xiaotian, so no matter how difficult it was to marry him or how much she suffered in this family, she never complained. She had always done things properly so that Chu Xiaotian did not have any worries. However, Chu Xiaotian did not care about her at all today. He left in a huff just because she refused to apologize to his mother. Su Han's passionate heart turned cold as if it had been thrown into an ice pool. She quietly lifted the blanket and looked at her swollen stomach. Tears welled up in her eyes. Su Yingxue waited in the Marquis manor for an entire day, but Chu Xiaotian did not give her any news. On the second day, Qin Wen cried and came to beg her. Yingxue, Haina sent news that she has unbearable abdominal pain. Has the regional prince's mansion invited you over? Su Yingxue shook her head. One haven't received any news from my brother-in-law. Regional Prince Yonggan. What should we do? How is your sister's health? When Qin Wen learned that her daughter was in pain, she was anxious and heartbroken. If she underwent surgery that day, these days of recuperation should have led to recovery. If this continues, even if the surgery is successful, her organs will be damaged. Saint Juan played with the poison in his hand and rolled his eyes. I hate people from noble families. Saving lives isn't important. This mess is annoying. Saint Juan snorted. He was waiting for Su Yingxue to rush to his door. As expected, 15 minutes later, Su Yingxue prepared the surgical tools and instructed Saint Juan. Carry the box. Saint Juan was overjoyed. All right. When the two of them were ready, they rushed straight to the regional prince's mansion. This time, Su Yingxue didn't go to entangle with Madame Sheng and Princess Minute Jia. She planned to close the door and proceed directly with the surgery for Su Han. However, when she rushed in, she saw Su Han kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. By the lake, where the autumn wind was blowing, Madame Sheng and the Minute Jia County Lord were surrounded by people enjoying themselves. They were stepping on soft carpets. However, Su Han was kneeling on the cold and hard stone floor. Two sturdy old women pressed her down from behind and kowtowed to Madame Sheng. Her bloated stomach made her feel unbearable pain every time she bent over. She was still struggling stubbornly. I didn't do anything wrong, slut. You still dare to deny it. Madame Sheng kicked Su Han angrily. Then, she kicked them into the lake. Watching them struggle in the water, gasping for breath and unable to get up, Su Yingxue snorted before turning to leave. Su Yingxue and Saint Juan brought Su Han back to her pharmacy. Su Han's condition was not good. All the tonics that she had prescribed for her had been taken down by the Minute Jia County Lord. Now, she was getting weaker and weaker, and she looked extremely haggard from the torture. Chapter 520. Chu Xiaotian did not agree to the surgery. Su Yingxue knew that Su Han was still conscious, so she leaned in and whispered, Sister, your body can't hold on much longer. If we don't perform the surgery soon, there could be danger. Yingxue, Su Han's eyes filled with continuous tears, a mixture of pain, grievance, and resentment. Although Su Han felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that Su Yingxue had dealt with Madame Sheng and her daughter, Su Han still had reservations. My husband, he hasn't agreed. Can you help me invite him over? I still have something to say to him. Surgery was a serious matter, and Su Han's well-being concerned not only herself. A wave of repulsion surged in Su Yingxue's heart. Under her mother's influence and Chu Yihan's affection, her character and beliefs had long departed from the outdated ways of the past. However, Su Han remained unchanged. She didn't force Su Ailan. She was about to send someone to inform Chu Xiaotian, but Chu Xiaotian had already arrived at the Marquis manor aggressively. Su Yingxue had no choice but to change her clothes and go out to welcome him. Because Su Dingheng and his wife had also arrived with him. Su Dingheng and his wife naturally came to care about their daughter. When Qin Wn saw Su Yingxue, she went forward and held her hand. Yingxue, how is Haina now? I heard that she was injured. Don't worry, auntie. I've already treated cousin's wound. But for the surgery, we need brother-in-law, uncle, and auntie's consent. Su Yingxue comforted Qin Wn and turned her gaze to Chu Xiaotian. Though she didn't have a strong impression of him, Chu Yihan had mentioned that Chu Xiaotian was a powerful and capable figure within the imperial family. However, his current dark expression made his narrow eyes appear somewhat indifferent. Ignoring Su Han and the surgery, he stated, "Where is Su Han? I want to take her back to the residence and apologize to Mother and Minute Jiao by kowtowing." Su Yingxue's eyes flashed with hostility. "What did you say? Make my cousin apologize to them? Are they even worthy?" Su Yingxue, don't be impudent. Even as the legitimate daughter of the Marquis manor, my sister, Minute Jiao County Lord, cannot endure humiliation, let alone my mother. She is a noble madam. I low dare you be so ruthless to them. Despite his reservations, Chu Xiaotian couldn't contain his anger. Ruthless? Su Dingheng and Qin Wan were confused about the situation. Su Yingxue smirked. I forgot to tell uncle and auntie that I barged into the regional prince's mansion and rescued cousin. One also gave Madame Sheng and Minute Jiao County Lord a good beating, then tossed them into the lake to have a drink. This, Su Dingheng widened his eyes. Is this the right thing to do? Su Dingheng thought. Qin Wan was also surprised, but after calming down, she thought, Yingxue, you're not an impulsive child. Was Han abused by them? Let the Prince of Yong'an County ask his mother and sister. When I saw my sister, she was extremely weak, pressed to the ground, and forced to kowtow to Madame Sheng and Minute Jiao County Lord. Madame Sheng kicked my sister to the ground, and I couldn't help but teach them a lesson on my sister's behalf. Su Yingxue appeared calm on the surface, but her eyes carried an unresolvable coldness. Qin Wn trembled upon hearing this, and Su Dingheng quickly supported her. Madam, be careful. After steadying herself, Qin Wn looked at Chu Xiaotian with teary eyes. Chapter 521. Do you despise my body so much? After Qin Wn steadied herself, she looked at Chu Xiaotian with tearful eyes and accused, the innocent daughter of my Su family married into your prince's mansion. She has never made a mistake for so many years. She has suffered in your prince's mansion, but you still humiliate and torture her like this. Why? Why? Qin Wn, born into a noble family, was dignified, so she had never spoken loudly to anyone in her life. But now, she didn't want to be so dignified, and she didn't want to be serious anymore. She just wanted to ask for her daughter. Why? Why does the mother-in-law think so? As my wife, shouldn't she serve her parents-in-law and treat her family with courtesy? She had done well in the past, but how did she do it this time? She didn't have a terminal illness, but she pretended to tell her family about it and caused everyone to suffer such humiliation. If she hadn't been sick, one would have immediately divorced her. What did you say? Su Dingheng had inherited old Master Su's fiery temper. Me glared at her angrily. So what if you're the regional prince? My daughter was humiliated by you. Father-in-law, why don't you teach your daughter well first? Chu Xiaotian frowned coldly. He walked up to Su Yingxue and asked her for Su Han. Where is Su Han? I want to bring her back. You want to humiliate my cousin? Dream on. Su Yingxue touched the red jade soft whip on her waist. She planned to wait for Chu Xiaotian to take another step forward and directly treat him as his imperial aunt to teach him a lesson. Hey, wait. Saint Wan came out of the medicine hut and raised his eyebrows at Su Yingxue. Your sister wants to see him. When he said him, Saint Wan's gaze fell on Chu Xiaotian. Chu Xiaoshan's face darkened as he followed Su Yingxue to the medicine hut. Su Dingheng and his wife also followed. Everyone was at the door, and Su Han asked for their permission to perform the surgery. Su Dingwei and Qin Wan had seen Su Dingheng after the surgery. He was full of energy and could make a scene. If he could cure Su Han, they would agree. However, Chu Xiaoshan's gaze was cold and sunken. He curled his lips and said coldly, "I do not agree." In the room, Su Han's heart twitched. With tears in her eyes, she asked, "Husband, do you dislike me? Will there be any scars after the surgery?" Su Han had smooth skin since she was a child, and she cherished it very much. If she didn't get such a disease, she wouldn't want to be hated by Chu Xiaotian in the future. If you don't cherish your body, who will cherish you in the future? Chu Xiaotian said righteously. He didn't want to lose interest in Su Han, whose skin was damaged. Besides, what's important now isn't your surgery, but my mother and sister. Both of them are sick because of you. If you don't go back and apologize to my mother, and she refuses to take the medicine, it'll be harder for her to recover. How are you going to make it up to her? Mother, you come over now. Not for me, but for me to go back and apologize to mother. Su Han's voice was trembling. She couldn't believe that her heart, which was thrown into the ice pool, had been broken by Chu Xiaotian. Her heart was broken. Yes, I will bring you back. Chu Xiaotian pushed open the door and rushed toward Su Han. When he pulled Su Han up, the quilt on her fell off, revealing her swollen belly, which made him frown subconsciously. Su Han saw the disgust in his eyes. The light in her eyes shattered. You despise my stomach so much because I'm sick. Enough. No need to say anything more. No matter what illness you have, everything will wait until mother is willing to drink the medicine. Chu Xiaotian did not have the patience to talk to her. Chapter 522 I will not let you down. His mother had caught a cold, and her wound was infected. If she still refused to apply medicine and drink the medicine now, there would be danger. Is your mother about to die? Does your mother have to endure the pain of being eaten by the worms in her stomach? Su Han cried, her voice carrying a hint of sorrow. Chu Xiaotian was surprised. He grabbed Su Han's wrist and tightened his grip. Su Han, do you know what you're talking about? You are my wife, how dare you question me? I'm your wife. Your Highness, you still know that I'm your wife. Ever since we got married, I've told myself every day that I'm your wife. For you, I'll endure all kinds of pain and grievances. But my life is in danger now. Su Han had no choice but to open her wound and expose her belly. On her bulging belly, there were moving bugs that were gnawing at her body. She was suffering every moment. If she didn't take out the worm in her stomach soon, her life would be in danger. Chu Xiaotian subconsciously shifted his gaze away. His voice was cold and deep. You're still fine now. What can you delay? You know her temper. If she doesn't calm down, she won't take the medicine. Do you want to see my mother die because she refuses to take the medicine? His questions were like a whip dipped in salt water, hitting Su Han's heart. Her delicate face was covered in tears, and her voice was choked with sobs. Your mother and I have such an obvious place in your heart. She had been sick for so long, but he had been busy outside and had never cared about her. On the other hand, his mother was injured, but he was so angry. All right, Su Han, you are my wife, obedient, sensible, gentle, and considerate. If you return to my residence and apologize to mother, I will naturally agree to protect your life, even if in the future. Chu Xiaoshan's gaze fell on her stomach, and a trace of gloominess flashed in his eyes. Even if you have scars on your body in the future, one will not let you down. Your Highness is treating me like this now? Talk about what later? Su Han struggled to break free from his hand. One won't go back and apologize to Mom unless she apologizes to me first. Su Han's hand turned red when she used all her strength and a sharp pain spread in her heart. Chu Xiaotian looked at her in a daze and snapped. Su Han, do you know what you are talking about? How can my mother apologize to you? What did she do wrong to you? Don't forget your identity. You are the princess of Yong'an County. So, what if she's the princess of Yong'an County? She's your mother's daughter-in-law. Does she have to suffer her humiliation and be framed to death? Su Yingxue kicked the door open. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of frost. She had a majestic aura, and the coldness around her made people tremble uncontrollably. Su Yingxue, what nonsense are you talking about? Chu Xiaotian scolded coldly. Since you are Heina's sister, one will not hold it against you. However, you must not humiliate my mother. Otherwise, one will not forgive you. So what if one humiliated you? Was it not the truth? Your Highness was busy feeling sorry for your mother and comforting your sister, but did you ever care about my sister's health? She's in pain every moment now, and you're still delaying her surgery. When Su Yingxue mentioned it, anger filled her heart. Your Highness is a filial son, but our Heina is not a woman without parents who care for her. The suffering that Heina is going through now is heartbreaking for us parent. Qin Wen helped Su Han up and cried. Chapter 523, Chu Xiaotian wants to divorce her. Su Dingheng, observing the situation, also spoke, Madam is right. Although our Su family may not be as prestigious as your Highness, we are not a small, easily bullied family. With Heina seriously ill, having even a glimmer of hope for recovery is already a heavenly blessing. If Regional Prince insists on delaying her treatment, one will be the first to disagree. Cousin is also the daughter of the Marquis manor. Grandpa is on his way back from the border. If he learns of this, he won't agree either. Regional Prince, you should think this through carefully. Su Yingxue declared with confidence. If it weren't for the fact that Su Han deeply loved Chu Xiaotian, the chaos he caused today at the Marquis manor might have led to several punches from the Regional Prince. Su Han looked at Su Yingxue gratefully. She leaned against her parents and felt much more at ease. Chu Xiaotian had been silent all this while. The usually reserved him had his displeasure on his face. Su Han had been married to him for a few years, and she knew filial piety was his top priority. Therefore, she had to tolerate it when Madame Sheng lectured her. Wiping away her tears, Su Han spoke in a low voice, Husband, it's not that one don't want to return and explain everything to mother. It's just that I want to wait until after the surgery, and I recover from my illness. Then, I'll go back to the prince's mansion with you and properly face mother. Without hesitation, Chu Xiaotian retorted, No. Come back with me now. He couldn't wait, and he couldn't tolerate it. He knew Su Han had been wronged this time, but what he couldn't accept was her resistance. Since the day he met Su Han, she had been gentle and obedient. Even though her social status didn't match him, he willingly married her despite family opposition. After several years of marriage, he had no regrets because Su Han always acquiesced to his wishes. He admired her grace and cherished her obedient nature. But now, she was not heeding his words, not being filial to his mother, and openly challenging his authority. Chu Xiaoshan's face was cold, and his eyes were resolute. Su Han, if you don't come back with me tonight, one will divorce you. Chu Xiaoshan's eyes were filled with ruthlessness, causing Su Han's weakened body to tremble. What did you say, husband? Divorce her. Su Han felt like she had fallen into an ice-cold abyss, and tears streamed down uncontrollably. Your Highness, think twice. You're humiliating the Su family. Su Dingheng clenched his fists tightly, and veins popped on his forehead. Qin Wan covered her hands with a handkerchief. She was shocked and panicked. Her instinctive reaction was that Su Han couldn't be divorced, or she wouldn't be able to live the rest of her life. Saint Wan saw Su Yingxue's hand on the red jade whip and blinked his peach blossom eyes as if watching a good show. You want to make a move? Do you need help? I can tell that Chu Xiaoshan's martial arts aren't weak either. Why don't I help you knock him out with poison first, then you can beat him up? Su Yingxue had the same intention in her heart. Jilan quickly grabbed Su Yingxue's arm and whispered, Miss, don't listen to Mr. Wan. Regional Prince's status is noble, he can't be beaten. Moreover, he is Miss Han's husband. If you hit him, Miss Han won't be able to live well in the Regional Prince's mansion. If she is divorced, Miss Han won't be able to face anyone. Miss Han is not like you. Jilan's last sentence made Su Yingxue put down her hand. Her heart sank. Yeah, cousin isn't like me. Su Han didn't have medical skills, so she didn't have as many bargaining chips as Su Yingxue. She didn't have the entire Marquis manor to back her up. All she had now was Chu Xiaotian, her husband. Chapter 524, Return to the regional prince's mansion and apologize. Moreover, she could tell from Su Elon's eyes that she loved this man. Su Han, with tears in her eyes, bit her lip and said, "Fine, I'll go back with you. But, husband, after mother takes the medicine, one must immediately come back for the surgery. The gnawing pain is truly unbearable." Su Han clutched her stomach. She felt excruciating pain with every passing moment of standing. But for Chu Xiaotian, she had to endure it. "Okay." Chu Xiaotian agreed, holding Su Han's hand and making a solemn promise, "As long as you apologize to mother, let her take the medicine and rest, I will personally accompany you for the surgery. Don't worry, even if there are consequences after the surgery, I will never mistreat you in the future." "Thank you, husband." In his words, Su Han felt that enduring a bit more grievance was nothing. Beside her, no matter how indignant Su Yingxue was, she couldn't say anything. However, Qin Wan was even more worried. She held Su Yingxue's arm. "Yingxue, it's late. I'm afraid Haina will endure unbearable pain on the way. You're a doctor. Auntie is pleading with you to go with her." In Qin Wan's eyes, there was an overflow of emotions, the deep love of a mother for her daughter evident in her tearful gaze. Su Dingheng, a tough man accustomed to warfare, softened his tone at this moment and joined in. "Yingxue, I'm also entrusting you to accompany Haina and bring her back for the surgery." Su Yingxue pursed her lips. "All right, I'll accompany cousin." She looked at her tall brother-in-law and said solemnly, "Brother-in-law, I'll accompany my sister." Chu Xiaotian was extremely unwilling. If it were anyone else, he would certainly refuse. However, Su Yingxue's identity was unique. She was entrusted by Su Han's parents and was also valued by his 9th imperial uncle. If he rejected her, his 9th imperial uncle would give him a hard time in the 5 cities military department, which would affect his career and future. He had to swallow his anger. Fine. With a heavy heart, he led Su Han into the carriage along with Su Yingxue. Before Su Yingxue left, she instructed Saint Wan and Jilan. "Prepare the things needed for the surgery. Once one bring my sister back, well, immediately get ready for the operation." Jilan nodded. Saint Wan whistled coldly. "I doubt it. Let's talk when you can bring her back." Given Su Han's temperament, even with Su Yingxue around, she would likely have a few bones broken by the old witch and her daughter when she returned. "Do you prepare it or not?" Su Yingxue's gaze, sharp as a knife, fell on Saint Wan. Saint Wan waved his hand impatiently. All right, I'll prepare. Just go." Su Yingxue and Su Han returned to the prince's mansion in Yong'an County. She helped Su Han back to Madame Sheng's courtyard. Before entering the room, they heard a commotion inside. The steward was pacing anxiously outside the door, sweating profusely. Seeing Chu Xiaotian return, he greeted him like a savior. "Your Highness, you're finally back. Madame's wound is infected and suppurating, and she has caught a cold. She refuses to take her medicine now. The doctor says that if we delay any longer, Madame's life will be in danger." Su Han's heart sank. Is it that serious? Although she detested Madame Sheng for favoring the Minute-Jiao County Lord and causing her so much suffering, Madame Sheng was still Chu Xiaoshan's mother. If she died, Su Han would feel sorry for Chu Xiaotian. "Sister, don't worry. Have you ever seen someone in critical condition making such a loud noise?" Su Yingxue rolled her eyes while supporting Su Han. Chapter 525. Why did he have to speak so harshly? She didn't need to feel the pulse to know that Madame Sheng wouldn't die anytime soon. The loud noise was so intense that even the king of the underworld might hesitate to claim her soul. The steward naturally felt sorry for his master. When he saw Su Yingxue, he couldn't help but express his displeasure. The doctors in the prince's mansion are highly skilled, unlike some who only rely on talking to treat patient. "Are you saying I only rely on talking to treat patients?" Su Yingxue sneered. Why don't I go in now and check Madame's pulse, maybe even diagnose her condition? No need. Chu Xiaotian frowned. Madame Sheng had been injured by Su Yingxue, and being a woman who cared about her appearance, asking Su Yingxue to check her pulse might drive her insane. Miss Su, please wait outside. I will take Haina inside and persuade mother to take her medicine. Chu Xiaotian was remarkably polite to Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue, seeing Chu Xiaotian enter the room, even extended his hand to assist Su Han before reluctantly handing Su Han over to him. She instructed Su Han, "Sister, remember to call me if you need anything." Su Han gratefully nodded. "Thank you, sister." She had helped Su Yingxue once that day. Now, Su Yingxue had helped her too much. She entered Madame Sheng's room with Chu Xiaotian and comforted her gently. Madame Sheng was in a fit of anger. Her lower body had been beaten so badly that she couldn't move, and her face was swollen from soaking in the water. Lying on the bed, she looked like a shrew selling vegetables. Seeing Su Han enter, her anger flared even more. "Slut, you dare to come back." Madame Sheng had already smashed everything around her. As the old regional prince handed her a cup of tea, she grabbed it and threw it at Su Han. The old regional prince widened his eyes. "Madam, you can't." All. Su Han, unable to move or dodge, was hit by the teacup on her shoulder. The scalding tea made her skin burn like fire. She instinctively called out to her husband, but Chu Xiaotian coldly released her hand. Chu Xiaotian approached Madame Sheng, covered her with a blanket, and ordered someone to bring her a bowl of medicine. "Mother, you're injured, and Haina is too. Are you feeling better now? Since things have come to this, let's not make a fuss. Your health is more important." Hearing this, Su Han felt like cold water was poured over her head. So it wasn't that Chu Xiaotian didn't have time to save her earlier. He did it intentionally. He allowed Madame Sheng to pour tea on her, watch her suffer, and hurt her to let out her anger. Su Han smiled bitterly, covering her face to hold back the tears. The old regional prince saw her grievance and understood that it was his wife causing trouble. Su Han was innocent. He ordered a servant girl to bring cold water and a handkerchief for Su Han to wipe. He said in a low voice, "Daughter-in-law, you're a sensible child. It's been hard for you to come back this time. Your mother-in-law didn't do it on purpose. Don't take it to heart." Madame Sheng had splashed hot tea all over Su Han's body. She felt much better, but when she heard the old regional prince's comforting words, her anger flared up again. She raised her hand and knocked over the bowl of medicine that Chu Xiaotian was holding. "You shameless woman," she scolded. "You seduced others to cause trouble in the residence, and you even got me beaten up. You even caused your sister to almost be disfigured. Now, do you think you can show off just because you have the protection of the Su family? In your dreams, grandmother." Su Han gritted her teeth, tears in her eyes. "Why do you have to make it sound so unpleasant?" Chapter 526. A suspicious man. Madame Sheng kept calling Su Han a slut and even said that she was shameless. When did she not know shame? My words are harsh. I have even worse things to say. Which man in this residence doesn't favor you? My husband usually praises you, and my son also favors a slut like you. He doesn't even go to my room once. But you, that disappointing belly of yours, it's fine if you haven't given birth for a few years, but now you're even pregnant with a ghost fetus, throwing the face of our regional prince's mansion. Madame Sheng spoke harshly to Su Han, venting all her dissatisfaction with her over the years. She didn't agree to take Su Han as her daughter-in-law. She despised the poor family and hated Su Han for being so beautiful and capable. She had managed the mansion well, but her mother-in-law couldn't find any fault. B0X. Su Han was scolded so badly. No matter how good-tempered she was and how much she cared about her relationship with Chu Xiaotian, she had to defend herself. "I'm not pregnant with a ghost fetus. Don't you know why there are bugs' eggs in my stomach and why one fell into the lotus pond? If it wasn't for Minute Jo's intention, how could she?" "Enough. Su Han, one brought you back so that you can apologize to mother and persuade her to take the medicine. One didn't want you to make mother angry." Chu Xiaotian scolded coldly. Su Han clutched her clothes tightly, feeling as if her heart had been stepped on by someone. However, recalling Chu Xiaoshan's past kindness towards her and the heartfelt words he spoke when he brought her back just now, she bit her lip with tears in her eyes. It's Haina's fault. Please, mother. Don't blame me. Taking care of your health is more important. Seeing her humble demeanor, Madame Sheng's anger dissipated by half. Outside the door, Su Yingxue was furious. If she could intervene in Su Han's family matters, she would have thrown Madame Sheng into the lake and let her soak for a night. To resist this urge, she had to temporarily leave the place. Su Yingxue thought that Minute Zhou County Lord hadn't appeared today. She had some doubts about Minute Zhou County Lord, so she quietly went to her courtyard to investigate. If she didn't come, it would be fine, but the moment she arrived, she saw a man embracing her in the county lord's yard. Su Yingxue felt that the man's figure was somewhat familiar. She jumped onto the beam and silently approached him. Under the beautiful moonlight, Minute Zhou County Lord revealed the delicate demeanor of a young girl. She pounded the man's chest with her fist. I've been injured one after another, and you only come to see me now. Tell me, do you think I'm ugly because my face is injured, so you don't like me, idiot, what are you thinking? The military affairs have been busy recently, and I've been working late into the night every day. When one heard that you were injured, my heart was about to break from anxiety. Come, let me see your face. The man held Minute Zhou's face as if it were a treasure. His eyes showed both genuine concern and a hidden disdain. Minute Zhou wasn't particularly good-looking. She wasn't as beautiful as Su Yingxue, nor as flamboyant as Han Yuan. She wasn't as delicate as Su Han, and she liked to wear bright colors, making her figure seem less slender. The man affectionately kissed the wound on Minute Zhou's face. It's a pity one have no power now. Otherwise, I would teach the person who hurt you a lesson and avenge you, he said softly. You. Don't mention that, Su Yingxue. Minute Zhou bit her lip. She was so angry that she felt like killing someone. I've never suffered such humiliation since I was young. Chapter 527. Feel good beating people up on the beam. Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. She had never enjoyed beating someone up so much since she was young. A big thanks to Minute Zhou County Lord for this. As for the man she was caught having an affair with, he seemed familiar to her. However, this man was quite cunning, always lingering in the shadows. Su Yingxue was increasingly eager to get a clear look at him, so she took a step forward. Unexpectedly, the man had a keen sense of smell. Sensing a foreign presence, he immediately became vigilant. Who's up there? Su Yingxue swiftly flipped over and climbed onto the roof. After running briskly for a while, she jumped down again. B0X. She could sense that the man's martial arts surpassed hers, so confronting him head-on was not an option. But his side profile, why did it resemble Su Jinxian? Jinxian, lower your voice. We can't let father and brother find out. Minute Zhou quickly pulled Su Jinxian back. As an unmarried girl, being found with a man in the courtyard would lead to dire consequences. Su Jingxuan's gloomy face furrowed. His sense of smell was exceptionally sharp, and he detected a faint medicinal fragrance in the air. He suspected the person just now was Su Yingxue. He couldn't linger here. He had to leave immediately. Before leaving, he didn't forget to embrace Minute Zhou and reassure her. Don't worry, one won't let you down. I'll settle the score with Su Yingxue for bullying you. Just be cautious of her and Su Han. If we can't drive Su Han out of the mansion this time, and she regains control of the regional prince's mansion, our marriage will. No. I'll drive Su Han away. Minute Zhou's eyes showed determination. Once one become the head of the family, I'll make sure my brother supports you. When you have a position and power, come and propose again. My brother will agree. She had a shy look on her face, a complete contrast to her arrogant demeanor in front of Su Yingxue. Su Jinxian smiled and nodded. However, as he turned to leave, a ruthless expression crossed his face. Su Yingxue returned to Madame Sheng's courtyard, expecting Madame Sheng to have exhausted herself from the tantrum. But when she tried to enter again, the steward stopped her. Su Yingxue's gaze turned icy. "Move aside." Although the steward was somewhat afraid of her, Minute-jaw County Lord was his true master. He had received instructions not to allow Su Yingxue inside, no matter what happened. "Miss Su, this is a family matter of the regional prince's mansion. Please wait outside," the steward insisted. "Your regional princess is also my cousin, and 1 a.m. her physician. I must accompany her." Su Yingxue felt something was off. She deliberately took a detour earlier to avoid raising suspicions. The steward, despite looking guilty, stood firm. "Miss Su, please show some restraint. Even though you are related to regional princess, you are still an outsider. Don't meddle in our family affairs. What are you afraid of?" Su Yingxue caught the guilt in his eyes. The steward blinked. "What am I afraid of? It's you." Hey, Miss Su, you can't go in." Su Yingxue kicked open the courtyard door and rushed in. When the butler tried to stop her, she kicked him away. The steward ended up being kicked into the wall, and the 2 servants couldn't pull him out. Su Yingxue stepped into Madame Sheng's room and found Su Han lying on the ground. Chapter 528. Calling him by his Mame, Chu Xiaotian. She was drenched, and there were palm prints on her face and blood at the corner of her mouth. The Minute-jaw County Lord was oblivious to Su Yingxue. She was fervently beating Su Han and even eagerly attempted to kick Su Han's stomach several times while shouting, 111 kick the ghost fetus in your stomach to death. Let's see how you embarrass the regional prince's mansion. All. Su Yingxue kicked away Minute-jaw County Lord and swiftly threw 3 silver needles, instantly pinning Minute-jaw to the wall. Madame Sheng, who had been enthusiastically watching Su Han being beaten, was suddenly stunned. The old regional prince finally reacted. Already feeling uneasy, he now grew more anxious. It's over. B0X. No more peaceful days. Su Yingxue, why did you barge in again? Chu Xiaotian fumed. If one didn't barge in, I'm afraid my sister would have been humiliated to death by all of you. Su Yingxue quickly pulled Su Han up. Sister, why didn't you call me? I did, but sister, you, Su Han, weakened to the point of being unable to speak, was drenched in sweat from the pain. Ah. Her stomach felt like it was being gnawed on by thousands of bugs. Sister, just now one. Su Yingxue patted her head. She had gone to spy on Minute-jaw, but she didn't expect Su Han to be tortured like this. Supporting Su Han's arm on her shoulder, Su Yingxue moved to leave. Chu Xiaotian stood in her way. Su Yingxue, my wife. Where do you want to take her? Get lost. Chu Xiaotian, do you still treat her as your wife? Can't you see how she's been bullied? Are you still qualified to be her husband? Su Yingxue gritted her teeth in hatred. If Su Han's life wasn't at stake, she would have blown off Chu Xiaoshan's head. This heartless man. Su Yingxue, what nonsense are you talking about? My mother was about to drink the medicine. As long as Heina endured it, one would immediately bring her to you for surgery. But you insisted on disrupting things at this moment. Chu Xiaotian gritted his teeth in hatred. It was all Su Yingxue's fault for barging in. Madame Sheng had promised to take the medicine after Minute-jaw vented her anger, but Su Yingxue hit Minute-jaw instead. Now, Madame Sheng was even angrier. Son, look at your woman. She colluded with outsiders and bullied your sister. Madame Sheng shouted behind his back. Did you see that? If Su Han doesn't kneel in front of your sister and apologize tonight, one won't take the medicine. Just you wait. Su Yingxue, did you hear that? It's all your fault. Now, Heina will suffer even more. Chu Xiaoshan's handsome face turned gloomy. Don't blame her. Su Han leaned against Su Yingxue. Her body and face were covered in wounds, but her eyes were clear. Chapter 529, Ziwei. He's always here certainly. Chu Xiaotian noticed Su Han's intense pain, but he was unwilling to let Su Han leave like this. He gestured for the servants to surround the courtyard, saying, Without my order, Su Han cannot leave the prince's mansion. She is my wife. Wife. Chu Xiaotian, you're simply the biggest joke. Su Yingxue coldly roared, are you even worthy of being a husband? You've allowed my sister to suffer so much, teetering on the brink of life and death. Even though they still bore the titles of husband and wife, Chu Xiaotian was no longer deserving of those words. B0x. All the injustices Su Han suffered today felt like icy blades, repeatedly thrust into her wounded heart. She was already mentally exhausted. She pleaded with Su Yingxue, sister, one beg you, she truly couldn't endure this pain any longer. Su Yingxue couldn't leave with Su Han. Behind her, Minute Jiao was pulled down from the wall. She pointed at Su Yingxue and shouted, Su Yingxue, you wretched woman, tonight, I want both you and Su Han to kneel and apologize to me. Ha! Su Yingxue coldly chuckled, Minute Jiao County Lord, it's time you taste the consequences of your loose tongue. To make such audacious claims. Su Yingxue, without hesitation, shot a needle into Minute Jiao's mouth. Minute Jiao, thinking she could protect her tongue by covering her mouth, soon realized that Su Yingxue's needles were impossible to evade. Minute Jiao began wailing and howling behind Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue shouted, Ziwei. A dark figure descended from the sky, exuding a chilling and bloodthirsty aura. The purple tint at the end of his eyes carried a terrifying intent to kill. Su Yingxue commanded, except for Chu Xiaotian, whoever dares to block my way will be beheaded. Ziwei's appearance instilled fear in everyone due to his formidable martial skills. Even Chu Xiaotian felt a tinge of fear. He took a step back. Ziwei's voice was hoarse and indifferent, yes. He uttered only one word, and a cold light flashed from his scabbard. The blade whistled, cutting through the crowd. Su Yingxue brought Su Han back to the general manor. Su Han was barely hanging on. Upon seeing Su Han, Su Dingheng and Qin Wan were stunned. Su Dingheng clenched his fists tightly. Haina! How could Haina be like this? Qin Wan couldn't hold back her tears. My daughter, how could they do this to you? Stop yelling. If we don't perform the surgery now, your daughter will be lost. Saint Wan, changed into different clothes, came over and informed Su Yingxue, everything is ready. Hurry and bring your cousin in. Su Yingxue nodded. Concerned about Chu Xiaotian making further moves, she instructed Su Dingheng, Uncle, I need at least 4 hours to operate on my sister. Chapter 530. Su Han's life was hanging by a thread. Saint Wan saw Su Han's swollen belly, which had turned deep red, and his brows slightly furrowed. If we don't act now, it will be too late. Su Yingxue's forehead perspired slightly. Saint Wan, prepare a bowl of anesthetic. Once my sister wakes up, administer it immediately. We'll start the surgery right away. All right. Saint Wan nodded. It was the only solution. During the surgery, Su Han would surely wake up due to the pain. At that point, they would administer the anesthetic. When the medicine took effect, Su Han would feel the pain of her abdomen being cut open and the extraction of the bugs for at least 15 minutes. However, it was an unavoidable circumstance. B0x. In Su Yingxue's medicinal hut, lights were placed at a distance to prevent wax from getting stained with ash. Around the operating table, she hung over a dozen luminous pearls. The luminous pearls radiated brilliance, complementing each other and illuminating the entire medicinal hut as if it were daylight. Su Yingxue meticulously opened Su Han's abdominal cavity. The situation inside her abdomen was not favorable. Su Yingxue carefully removed one bug, but these wild-grown parasites had slippery bodies with a thorn at the end. When Su Yingxue extracted one, the thorn hooked onto the flesh inside Su Han. Su Yingxue inwardly exclaimed in dismay. Sweat appeared on her forehead, and Saint Wan quickly wiped it with a handkerchief, softly advising, don't be afraid. Use scissors to cut it off, then clean the tail. Su Yingxue nodded. Under Saint Wan's guidance, she dealt with one bug. Just as she was about to continue with the operation, Su Han's body suddenly moved. It hurts, her pale, translucent face expressed pain. My stomach, it hurts. Sister, don't move. Su Yingxue hastily cautioned. She halted the surgery and instructed Saint Juan to bring the anesthetic. Sister, the surgery has already begun. One know you're in pain, but one must remove all the bugs from your stomach. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. Su Han, who had been pampered since childhood, couldn't endure such pain. Tears had already blurred her vision. Yingxue, has my stomach been cut open? Su Yingxue nodded solemnly. Yes, sister. Don't worry. I'll save your life. Nothing will happen to you. Su Han believed her, but the pain was truly tormenting. Saint Juan handed the medicine to her mouth. Quickly drink this anesthetic. When the medicine takes effect, the pain will subside. Endure it for now. To save her life, it was an inevitable circumstance. Su Han opened her mouth, but before she could drink the medicine, a commotion erupted outside. Su Yingxue, without my permission, you are not allowed to perform surgery on Su Han. She is my woman. Even if she dies, I should decide. Su Han's heart trembled. Outside the door, Xiaotian had mobilized his troops and the mansion's soldiers, breaking into the Marquis manor. Su Dingheng hastily summoned the guards of the Marquis manor. He stood in front of the medicinal hut, pointing at Xiaotian. Shut up. Considering you're your highness, I won't argue with you. But Haina is undergoing surgery inside, and her life is hanging by a thread. I won't allow you to go in and interrupt her. Father-in-law, one spared you because I gave you face, but now I'm taking Su Han away to make her kowtow and apologize to my mother. Xiaotian glared, his handsome face cold and emotionless. What did my daughter do wrong? Why should she kowtow and apologize to your mother? Wen scolded with tears in her eyes. Su Yingxue was a little curious. Su Han didn't know medicine, did she? When Sister attacked Minute Jure, I observed it. Sister's medical skills are superb. You can cut open my abdomen and remove the bugs. Naturally, you can do the same. Su Han's voice was low, and it was difficult for her to say a word. The pain in her stomach was unbearable for ordinary people. Su Yingxue took out the silver needles and emphasized again, Sister, if you don't take the anesthetic, the pain is unbearable, and you'll bleed non-stop. As Saint Juan had said, even a general who had been through so much might not be able to endure such pain. The pain was too cruel for Su Han. Do it, sister. I want to remember the pain of this operation. I want to remember that this pain is all thanks to the regional prince's mansion. Su Han closed her eyes. Even though her stomach was in severe pain, her knuckles were turning white. Chapter 532, You're so smart. Seeing her determination, Su Yingxue administered 2 needles to both of Su Han's legs to prevent her from moving and risking injury to her wounds. However, due to Su Han being a woman, she refrained from using excessive force. She planned to administer an anesthetic directly when Su Han started experiencing unbearable pain. She glanced at Saint Juan and subtly blinked her peach blossom eyes, signaling that she understood. Su Yingxue signaled to him to be ready to administer the medicine to Su Han whenever necessary. The two continued with the surgery on Su Han. Outside the door, the situation remained at a standstill. Xiaotian was infuriated. He called out to Su Han multiple times, but she showed no response. B0x. He turned to Su Dingheng and said, Father-in-law, if you insist on this, don't blame me for taking action against you. Wen had never expected that Xiaotian, whom she had seen as a talented person, would be so rude. Your Highness, General Su is your father-in-law. Though his official position and family background may not match yours, how dare you behave like this? Madam, don't be afraid. Su Dingheng called Qin Wan's maid and instructed her, Jifen, assist Madam to the outside of the medicine hut. Ensure she isn't distress. Yes, General Su. Jifen promptly helped Qin Wan out. Both Jifen and Jilan were maids in the Marquis manor, possessing a knowledge and demeanor distinct from ordinary servants. Jifen, concerned about the ongoing confrontation, urged, Sister Jilan, now that the general is confronting your highness, can our Marquis manor withstand it? Jilan, with a hint of gravity in her expression, responded, although Miss has some supporters, it's uncertain if she can assist the general. To mobilize the Marquis manor private troops, we need the Marquis orders. With Su Dingheng having no active role and being confined by Su Yingxue, the responsibility fell upon Su Yingxue. For such a significant matter, Sister Jilan, you should consult Miss first. Jifen expressed her worry. Jilan nodded and asked her to protect Qin Wan. She stayed in the side hall of the courtyard next door and quietly went to the door of the medicine hut. Outside the door, Su Dingheng and Chu Xiaotian had already engaged in a physical confrontation. The situation was extremely tense. Jilan called out from outside the door, Miss, one seek your guidance on whether we should inquire if the Marquis will send soldiers to assist General Su. Su Yingxue had just finished dealing with the third worm. The sweat on her forehead kept falling. Her eyes were focused on her surgery on Su Han. She instructed, go find my father and send the guards in the residence to the medicine hut. Ensure the medicine hut is guarded. Jilan responded, yes, I will go immediately. Saint Wan wiped Su Yingxue's sweat and questioned, why is mobilizing the soldiers so troublesome? Isn't your assassin Ziwei here? Let him out, and he can deal with Chu Xiaotian. Ziwei is protecting us on the roof. Su Yingxue could sense Ziwei's presence. Before entering the medicine hut, Ziwei had informed her that there were human auras around the hut and that he would staunchly protect her. At this moment, she, Su Han, and Saint Wan were under Ziwei's protection. He couldn't afford to be distracted. Saint Wan glanced upward but couldn't see where Ziwei was. However, he couldn't comprehend it. Why is Ziwei protecting us? Could there still be people daring to act against you in the Marquis manor? Su Yingxue, concentrating on her hands, calmly responded, if my enemies take advantage of the chaos to attack, not only could they harm me, but they could also shift the blame for my cousin's life onto the Marquis manor. Both the Marquis manor and I would be in trouble. Damn! Saint Wan was slightly stunned. That's ruthless. Nevertheless, he admired Su Yingxue even more. You can even sense this. Not bad. Your mind doesn't lose to your mother. Chapter 533. Su Dingheng protects his daughter. Saint Wan felt a sense of joy. If it weren't for the ongoing surgery, he wanted to poke Su Yingxue's little head and see how it worked. Su Yingxue performed the surgery calmly. Although she didn't voice it, she was well aware that Su Han's unwarranted injury and the man in Minute Jo's courtyard were not mere coincidences. Their target wasn't Su Han. It was her. Jilan went to invite Su Dingheng from his courtyard. Since the day Su Dingheng was pulled out of the ancestral hall by Su Yingxue, he seemed lost, wandering, occasionally calling Shulan and Rua, then starting to call Shuli after a while. At this moment, Jilan thought she would need to use quite a bit of persuasion to get Su Dingheng to agree. B0x. Unexpectedly, before she could explain everything, Su Dingheng asked, Yingxue, is she performing surgery on Haina? This? Yes. Jilan was taken aback. Let's go, support me, mobilize the troops. Su Dingheng put on his shoes, got out of bed, and took out the commander's seal from under his pillow, holding it in his palm. Jilan was surprised. Marquis, you agreed. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and help me. If you're late, Yingxue's surgery will be interrupted, and shall be in danger. Can a silly girl like you bear the responsibility? Su Dingheng rolled his eyes at her. The anxiety and worry in his eyes didn't seem fake. Jilan was delighted and quickly helped Su Dingheng call the guards from the Marquis manor. Hundreds of guards rushed into the courtyard of the medicine hut. Su Dingheng had already been captured by Chu Xiaotian's men. Chu Xiaotian immediately wanted to kick the door open. Su Dingheng shouted, stop. With Jilan's support, He walked into the battlefield. How can my Marquis of Marshall South's manor allow people to act as they please? This medicine hut is my daughter's place. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. Xiaotian turned around with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Marquis of Marshall South? Why did he come out? Didn't his relationship with Su Yingxue break down, and he no longer had any real power? He had even brought the soldiers of the Marquis manor. Second brother? The injured Su Dingheng was also surprised. What are you guys doing? Help my brother up and call the doctor. And you guys. Su Dingheng pointed at the Marquis soldiers and ordered, "Today, I am here. Even if you have to risk your lives, you have to guard this medicine hut for me. All of you stand at the door for me. Guard the door for Miss." The well-trained prefecture soldiers immediately split into two teams. One team surrounded Xiaotian and the others, while the other team stood guard in front of Su Yingxue's door and stood there solemnly. In the room, Saint Wan and Su Yingxue heard the commotion. Su Yingxue was slightly moved. Saint Wan smiled evilly and raised his eyebrows. TSK, I didn't expect that your father would protect you one day. Shut up and watch my sister. Otherwise, I'll let you suffer a knife as well. Su Yingxue glared at him. Saint Wan pouted. He thought that Su Han had fainted from the pain since she hadn't made a sound. However, when he looked down, Su Han's eyes were open. There was a trace of sadness in her beautiful eyes, but they were firm and resolute. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The women of Su's family are all amazing. There was no need to say much about Su Yingxue. Su Han, a delicate and gentle young lady, could endure such pain. The silver needles on her hands and feet had long lost their effect, but she still endured it and did not move. Su's family. Oh no, the people from Marquis Manor were awesome. Outside the door, Chu Xiaoshan's face was filled with hostility. Is Marquis of Marshall South going against me? Chapter 534. The Silkpants Marquis Su Dingheng was not like his other brothers. He was the only one in the Marquis Manor who had never been on the battlefield and had no military merits. However, he relied on his wife's merits to inherit the title of nobility. Xiaotian knew that he was a coward and did not respect him. Su Dingheng shivered but remained silent. On the other hand, Su Dingheng raised his sword. Xiaotian, don't act recklessly. Your regional prince's mansion may be prestigious, but my Marquis manor is not to be trifled with. You'd better leave now. Tell me to leave. Does your daughter still want to return to the prince's mansion? Xiaotian pointed his sword at Su Dingheng with a fierce expression. Your Highness, Xiaotian, considered himself far superior to Su Dingheng, a mere general Weiwu. He wouldn't have allowed Su Dingheng to shout at him so loudly if it weren't for the sake of Su Han. Su Dingheng ended up with only minor injuries. B0X. Su Dingheng's weakness was exploited, and he fumed with anger. He wished he could chop Xiaotian into pieces, but he was his daughter's husband. His daughter's future still belonged to the regional prince's mansion. Master, refrain from further actions. Be careful not to harm yourself. Qin Wn quickly walked to his side, supporting him. Master, Haina is still the regional princess of the prince's mansion. Please don't fight anymore. Su Dingheng sighed heavily, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Sigh. Seeing the couple compromise, Xiaotian was about to rush in and seize Su Han. But Su Dingheng angrily shouted, "Stop right there." Although Su Dingheng's health was not good, with Jillen's support, he stood firm. His voice wasn't loud, yet it carried a distinctive aura. This is my Marquis manor. Inside the medicine hut are my daughter and niece. I don't care if you're a regional prince or how capable you are. As long as I'm standing here, don't even think about going in and disturbing my daughter's peace. Otherwise, even if you cut off my head, 111 still stare at you with my eyes wide open, you bastard. Su Dingheng stood in front of Xiaotian, shouting at him. His appearance, both swaying and his words, didn't seem fitting for a marquis. Instead, He resembled a carefree young master who once roamed the streets. After pretending for many years, ever since marrying Long Shuli, he hadn't truly lived as himself. Yet now, he was shamelessly using his status. And Chu Xiaotian, this prince, couldn't do anything when he saw him like this. Su Dingheng even took out one of the guard's swords and pointed it at Chu Xiaotian, yelling, "Bastard, come at me. My father is the Defender General, my brother is General Weiwu, my wife is the princess, and my daughter is also a peerless genius doctor. Shall be rich and famous in the future. Even a prince like you will have to kneel when you see her." Su Dingheng's current behavior was surprisingly unexpected. Su Dingwei suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. The few brothers had been striving since childhood, but Su Dingheng was the odd one out. He wasn't good at either literature or martial arts, yet he enjoyed mingling in the streets. Starting as a young master of the Marquis manor, he ended up as a playboy. However, this group of generals only knew how to fight head-on, while Su Dingheng was smooth. Chu Xiaotian was both surprised and disdainful. A noble marquis acting like a street scoundrel. What a joke. Even if I'm a joke, you still have to call me second uncle. Don't forget, you married my niece, my junior. What were you doing just now? Hitting my big brother? Hitting your father-in-law? I think your head has been cut off by a sword, leaving only half a pace. Now, take your men and get lost. Or, when my daughter comes out, you'll be beaten up like your mother. Chapter 535. Su Han has a child in her belly. Su Dingheng waved his sword, acting like a rogue, but strangely, this posture left Chu Xiaotian speechless. Being of royal descent, Chu Xiaotian would never throw a tantrum like Su Dingheng, behaving like a street scoundrel. Chu Xiaoshan's face darkened as he pondered. With his limited entourage, he couldn't forcibly take Su Han from the Marquis manor. But leaving now was out of the question, he couldn't accept that. Su Yingxue had interfered with his wife without permission, and he couldn't let it slide. B0X. Com and Su Han, she had defied him repeatedly. In the midst of his frustration, Minute Jiao barged in. "Brother, don't worry. If the Marquis manor tries to bully you, they have to see if seventh cousin agrees." Minute Jiao's face was swollen from Su Yingxue's beating, and she spoke with a buzzing voice due to the needle still in her mouth. However, she didn't let that hinder her from providing Chu Xiaotian with some devious ideas. Chu Xiaotian was both surprised and intrigued. The moonlight cast its gentle glow, and the night breeze was chilly. Chu Chengye, adorned in a moon-white python robe, strolled in under the moonlight. With a golden crown on his head, he was accompanied by 100 imperial guards, exuding a commanding presence. Upon his arrival, everyone kneeled in respect. "Greetings, Your Highness." "Greetings, Your Highness, seventh brother." Chu Xiaotian nodded in acknowledgement, showing his respect to Chu Chengye. Chu Chengye extended a helping hand. "Brother, there's no need for formalities. Sister Minute Jiao came to inform me that you were trapped in the Marquis manor, so I've come to support you." The term support raised eyebrows. Inside the room, Saint Juan raised an eyebrow. "Why is he here? Is he deliberately causing trouble?" Su Yingxue hadn't finished dealing with everything yet. "Saint Juan, look." Even though Su Yingxue had just removed all the bugs, her expression darkened as she examined Su Han's abdomen. Saint Juan looked down and was stunned. Damn, was this too unfortunate? Su Han sensed the somber atmosphere on the operating table and asked weakly, "Sister, what's wrong?" "Cousin, the child in your stomach." Su Yingxue felt deep regret and couldn't bring herself to continue. Outside the medicine hut, Chu Chengye approached the Su family. He glanced at Su Dingwei and his wife, saying, "I understand that General Su and your wife are anxious about your daughter, but you have crossed the line. General Su, despite being my brother's father-in-law, you seem to have forgotten that my brother is a relative of the imperial family and holds a position in the 5 cities artillery department. In terms of status and rank, he surpasses General Su. How dare you raise your hand against him?" Su Dingheng felt extremely ashamed, but even with his hidden resentment, he had to bow his head and grit his teeth. I overstepped, Your Highness. As a military man, General Su deserves punishment. Chengye not only had status but also wielded real power in the Ministry of Justice. He gestured, issuing a command. Take General Weiwu, Su Dingheng, who has offended his superior and humiliated the regional prince, throw him into the imperial prison, and administer corporal punishment. Qin Wan was terrified. Your Highness, spare him, please. Corporal punishment involved stripping the prisoner naked and using an iron comb forged from steel bars to comb down the prisoner's body, akin to combing hair. The pain was excruciating, causing injuries ranging from scraped-off skin and profuse bleeding to damaged tendons and bones, resulting in disability. Su Dingheng wasn't afraid of the punishment, but he stood firm. I made a mistake. Your Highness can punish me however you want, but I must witness Haina's surgery with my own eyes. She must be safe and sound. Otherwise, I will never leave this medicine hut. Chapter 536, Chengye's Viciousness. General Su, this is not up to you. Chengye made a move, and immediately, Imperial guards came forward to arrest Su Dingheng. If Su Dingheng thought of resisting, Chengye coldly reminded him, injuring the regional prince is a serious crime. If General Su dares to resist the Imperial guards, the consequences will be more severe than just corporal punishment. Master, Qin Wan's heart was aching, but she didn't dare to let Su Dingheng act again. Su Dingheng could only grit his teeth and give up. B0x. Xiaotian sneered. Father-in-law should have known this would happen, so why bother taking action? Haina is already married to me, and it's only right for me to bring her back to the prince's mansion. Even her parents have no right to stop it. Xiaotian, you. This is too much. Su Dingheng was caught by the Imperial guards. Seeing him curse, Chengye thought of a vicious move. Since General Su doesn't value my brother, I'll order an execution right here. He deliberately raised his voice when saying this, ensuring that those inside could hear him. Su Yingxue had just cleaned Su Han's abdomen, and she couldn't preserve the baby. She had to clean it thoroughly before properly suturing it. Otherwise, she would. Sister, my father, Su Han's face showed no trace of color due to the pain. She had endured for so long, and the pain of having her abdomen cut open hadn't made her flinch. But now, her father was held captive. If she continued lying here and her father was subjected to corporal punishment, what should she do? Cousin, don't move. Su Yingxue pressed down on her restless shoulders and administered the bowl of anesthetic prepared by Saint Ruan. Sister, my father, after giving Su Han the medicine, Su Yingxue immediately sealed her acupuncture points, rendering her immobile. She gently touched Su Han's forehead. Sister, rest assured and sleep well. I will save you. As for Su Dingheng, if Chengye dared to harm him in the slightest, she would make Chengye pay the same price. Saint Ruan assisted Su Yingxue in stitching up the wound, and he raised his eyebrows in surprise. One admire you. The fire has reached your doorstep, yet you remain so calm. Her needlework was extremely precise and unaffected by her emotions. However, it was evident that the situation outside was dire. Su Yingxue's gaze turned cold. Shut up. Thread. Saint Ruan quickly assisted her. Outside the door, Su Dingheng had been stripped naked. Chengye intended to break into the medicine hut with Xiaotian and take Su Han away. Su Dingheng held his sword and blocked the door. Stop. Today, even if the God of Heaven comes, don't think about entering. Otherwise, kill me first. He had never done anything for Su Yingxue. This time, he hoped to be like his elder brother and contribute to protecting his daughter. Xiaotian frowned. Su Dingheng is the Marquis. Although his official position is not high, he is still Su Yingxue's father. Cousin, I'm afraid it's not easy to touch him. Xiaotian had some reservations just now, which was why he didn't dare to make a move. Although the Imperial guards brought by Chengye could completely suppress the soldiers in Marquis' manner, Su Dingheng acted shamelessly and forcefully stopped them. They couldn't directly attack Su Dingheng. Otherwise, no matter where this matter went, it wouldn't be justified. After all, they were the ones who barged into the Marquis' manor this time. The corners of Chengye's mouth curled into a cold arc. He walked in front of Su Dingheng but did not attack him. He only said softly, "Marquis, Su Yingxue is your daughter. Is Rua not? Have you forgotten who exposed Rua's corpse in the wilderness?" One wanted to find a complete corpse for Rua to bury, but Rua was eaten by wild beasts and her face was unrecognizable. Not even her bones were left. Chapter 537. Kill her and avenge Mother. Su Dingheng's face turned a dismal white, and the sword in his hand clattered to the ground with a loud sound. "Rua, my daughter, how could it be so tragic? Not even a bone left." Chengye raised his eyebrows triumphantly, taking advantage of the moment to command, "Quickly assist the Marquis in resting. Otherwise, if the Marquis encounters problems, can you bear the responsibility?" Su Dingheng's mind was in turmoil, and the debonair demeanor from moments ago was instantly shattered. B0X. Chengye looked at the empty door, the light inside shining as bright as day as if representing nobility and justice. However, he was determined to shatter this nobility and trample upon this justice. "Su Yingxue, you owe me, and you will repay it all." Chengye, with Xiaotian, was about to enter when a petite figure blocked their way. Xilan used her body to obstruct the door. "Miss has ordered that unless she comes out, no one can barge in. Even if one have to risk my life, I won't let you in." "Who are you? How dare you stop my cousin?" Minute Jiao stormed out angrily and slapped Xilan. "Get lost." Xilan spat out blood from the blow but got up, still blocking the door. "You can't go in. You can't go in." Minute Jiao clenched her teeth in anger. "Su Yingxue, that wretched woman's maid, is also this audacious. Brother, kill her and avenge Mother." Minute Jiao snorted disdainfully. She wanted to see how unafraid this maid was of death. "Even if you kill me, I will guard the door for Miss." Xilan opened her arms, forcefully preventing them from entering. Xiaotian refrained from making a move. "Killing a maidservant dirties my blade." Although he was not a martial hero, he knew that a martial artist's weapon shouldn't be used against a defenseless woman, especially a servant. Chengye handed his sword to Minute Jiao and raised his eyebrows. "Since Su Yingxue has offended my cousin, I'll handle it myself and seek retribution." Minute Jiao's heart skipped a beat. "Let me do it." Despite her arrogant demeanor, she had never even killed a chicken at home. Now, she was being asked to take a life. "Are you afraid, cousin? With me here, no one will dare touch a hair on your head." Chengye smiled smugly. Minute Jiao's eyes gleamed with excitement. Although she had never killed anyone before, Chengye made it sound so easy. Killing a maidservant was nothing. She took Chengye's sword and sneered. "Su Yingxue, daring to humiliate me? I'll kill your maid first and then settle the score with you." Su Yingxue still had a few stitches left. Saint Juan saw her hand tremble, and the needle failed to go down. "Xilan, cousin." Su Yingxue had time to put the needle down, but doing so would expose Su Han's wound, and behind her was Jillen's life. "Damn it." "I'll go out and confront them." Saint Juan angrily discarded his gloves, and rolled up his sleeves, ready to charge outside. But before he could reach the door, a woman's scream echoed. "Ah!" Saint Juan's heart skipped a beat. "Oh my God, that little girl can't be dead, right?" Su Yingxue was also agitated, but her eyes widened instantly. "Isn't that Jillen's voice? What? Who is that?" "Don't worry about it, Saint Juan. Come back and focus on suturing. Sister's health is more important." Su Yingxue shouted sternly. Saint Juan quickly returned, cleaned his hands, and removed his gloves again. He cooperated with Su Yingxue to complete the last few stitches. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.